Hi, so I just got back from the doctor's office, and I told him that we got a dog and I'm going on walks with him in the outside. But the doctor suggested to me that I should get vaccinated against, I think, ticks, the thing, it's called TBE, I believe. But I googled the side effects and it's insane. There's problems breathing, you can swell, I think dizziness. I don't want to get vaccinated against something like that because that is horrific.
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just overheard you talking about vaccines on your phone, and I'm sorry, but do you know what kind of diseases or disabilities can be the the
No, you mean from ticks?
yeah, what's the Lyme disease, for example? So all of those side effects, those first of all apply to just a small population. They are clinically tested as well, and all of those diseases you can catch are so much worse. So if you are thinking of not getting vaccinated, please watch this video.
Welcome. My name is Nina, and together with Emma, we want to talk about something that affects every single one of us: vaccines. Specifically, why they save lives and why that matters right now. Let's start with the most fundamental question: why are vaccines important in the first place? Infectious diseases are not just inconvenient, they can be life threatening or leave people with lasting complications and disabilities. And unlike a lot of other health risks, they don't respect borders. A disease outbreak anywhere in the world can quickly become a problem everywhere. That's why vaccines matter on two levels. They protect you directly, but they also protect everyone around you, including people who can't get vaccinated themselves, like newborns, the elderly, or people with certain medical conditions. Vaccination is one of the most effective tools we have to protect both the individual and the community. This graphic illustrates that concept perfectly. It's called herd immunity. When nobody is immunized, a contagious disease spreads rapidly through an entire population. And when some people are immunized, this spread slows down. Not completely, but it slows down. But then, when most of the population is immunized, the disease can barely move. It gets contained, protecting even those who couldn't be vaccinated. The more of us that are protected, the safer we all are.
How do vaccines work? First, look at our body and our immune system. You have probably been sick before, and usually also from some kind of pathogen, which is a bacterium, a virus, or something like that, which is harmful to our body. And those usually enter, for example, via the nose, via the air, via saliva, via open wounds, and they somehow get to our body, inside our body, and then fastly proliferate and therefore divide and might produce or interfere with the healthy workings of our body. And this then causes part of the symptoms which seem to us as the disease. Partially, it's also because of the response to it, like a fever is the response to an infection, and our body tries to get rid of it before it even goes as far. But sometimes you have to attack the pathogen if it's already in attack modus itself. For that, our immune system has two different responses. One is innate and one is adaptive. The innate one is the general one. It should always be there. You're born with it, but it's not as effective as the adaptive one. The adaptive one is learned, so you have to have been exposed to the disease at least once. You are not born with it, but you have then afterwards cells which will recognize the pathogen in the future very early and hopefully make a strong response. Yes. Let's also look at our blood cells. Our blood is red, and this is because we have red blood cells. Those are red because they carry iron. They need iron to transport oxygen through our body. But those are not the only kind of blood cells. We also have white blood cells, platelets. but for now, white blood cells are important. And also, let's focus on the white blood cells, which are not in the blood at all. They are on the lymph system. You might remember going to the doctors and they testing for some kind of swollen nodes or glands, which are usually from the lymph system because they swell up when overactive when you are sick. And those white blood cells are supposed to recognize, attack, and defeat the pathogen in your body so that you are healthy again. And just as there is not only one type of blood cell, there are also many types of white blood cells, one of which are the lymphocytes, which are further divided into B cells and T cells. The B cells are producing precise antibodies, which can act different ways. They can attack the pathogens, they can therefore block the effect of the pathogen, and the T cells are used to locate and destroy the different kinds of infected cells. What is very important for that is that they should know which cells are not a threat and therefore not attack our own healthy cells, which could be then an autoimmune disease if this goes wrong. This then makes up the defense, because our body can build a library of protection of recognizing the pathogens early on, so to not risk the infection in the first place. And this is partially done by so-called memory B cells, which are activated when the pathogen comes around for the second time and are producing antibodies way earlier and faster than the innate immune response. How this is shown on the right as the so-called antigen, which binds to the receptor which recognizes it on the B cell, which then leads to proliferation of the B cell itself, making many of the so-called effector B cells. You have naive B cells, you have effector B cells, and you also have the memory B cells. They then secrete the antibodies which are acting against the pathogens. And in a human, this pathogen itself or parts of it are the antigen, which is determined by or received by the receptor, which then knows what to do to go against this. But in a vaccine, you don't want to insert the antibody, right? Because that would just cause an infection, and you would not want a vaccine which causes an infection in the first place. You want a weaker response of the immune system when you receive the vaccine in order to then get a strong trained response afterwards. So you don't use the pathogen itself, you use an inactive form or a part of the membrane of it, of the surroundings, a protein which is inside, just something which can be used to trigger the production of the memory B cells in the first place, to store them in a body so that they can then act if you contract the disease for a proper time.
A question a lot of people have. What's actually in the vaccine? Vaccines typically contain four main types of components. The first one is the antigen, the substance that triggers your immune response. This is what the immune system learns to recognize and fight. The second one are adjuvants, boosters that make the immune response stronger and longer lasting. They essentially help the body take the training more seriously. The third ones are the preservatives. They keep the vaccine stable and safe during storage. It's kind of similar to how the preservatives are used in cosmetics and food. And finally, we have the stabilizers. They protect the antigen from being degraded by changes in temperature or environment. And together, these components are carefully selected conducted and tested to ensure the vaccine is both effective and safe. One technology you've probably heard a lot about recently is the mRNA vaccine. And here's how that works. The vaccine delivers a temporary recipe card, which is the strand of the mRNA, into your cell. This recipe instructs your cells to build a harmless surface protein, the kind found on the outside of the virus. Your immune system sees that protein, mounts a response, and builds its memory. And crucially, the mRNA never enters the cell nucleus. It never touches your DNA. And once the protein has been produced, the cell simply breaks down and discards the instructions. It's completely temporary, your genetic material remains untouched.
How safe is the vaccine? Short answer is very safe. A vaccine won't hit the market until it has gone through several phases of clinical research, or it's tested on thousands of people, and it's regulated, it needs to fulfill certain standards, and even before all of those clinical research, you have the development and the research itself in the lab, testing on model organisms, testing on animals to make sure it is even safe to put into the first human. And all in all, this process takes approximately 10 to 15 years, so there's a lot of time for this, and it is exactly designed that way. Yes, after you have completed the research phase, for example, also testing in other organisms, you enter the first phase of clinical research, and this is around a few months to at most a year usually. This is done to judge the safety of it, to judge the safety of different dosages and side effects that may come with it. All of those people in this very small group, like dozens to at most 100, know what they will get injected. They are all adults, and they have all consented to this. And yeah, if this has been successful, you continue on the second phase, which varies quite a bit in length. It can be just a few months, it can be 2 years, and nowadays you also try to kind of parallelize it with the first phase, which was done with COVID. And yeah, in the second phase, you expand to hundreds, usually like lower hundreds, 100 to 300 people, to test the immune response or the effectiveness. This then means that you want to see if this vaccine is actually useful, if it fulfills its purpose, and therefore you want to take people which are roughly in the target audience of the disease, what you are trying to protect them from. Obviously, if you look at children's diseases, you won't start with children. You will start with adults, and you take more average persons, and then you go towards the younger adults who are all in the know that they will be receiving this. Here you start to introduce the so-called placebo samples, which means that not all of your group will receive the medicine itself to test against a control, and it also is sometimes double-blind, meaning the researchers won't know it until they finalize the comparison between the groups, which just increases the safety and the preciseness of the testing. After the phase 2, you enter phase 3, which is over a year. Usually it's over a year. It can be way longer. And you do those next tests on thousands of people, which is done to judge efficacy, safety, and effectiveness. Whereas safety can also be stuff like less common side effects. If you look into the the prescription medicines, and there's something like 1 in 10,000 people can get this and this side effect, this must be tested to get those values in the first place. Right. And then it says here it continues into long-term safety evaluation, which would mean, well, it's news, but here's a stop. After all this research, where all the people consented to it, where all of it was very much studied and compared and tested, you need an approval of some kind of governing agency. It depends on the country, but it won't just continue onto the market. You need this approval. This is one of the reasons why it's very safe. And then the phase 4 is just whilst it's still in use, when those hopefully millions of people are using the vaccine, you get more info on those rare side effects, more safety evaluation long term and continuous, so you still keep up with it. It's not like when it's approved, it's gone off the table, it can be sold forever. No, it is still tested.
Let's look at some numbers, because sometimes the most powerful argument is a simple fact. Over the past 52 years, vaccines have saved more than 154 million lives. That's not an estimate, that's documented. 154 million people who are alive today because vaccination existed. For specific diseases, the impact is even more striking. Take tetanus. Vaccination has reduced deaths by up to 88%. Nearly 9 out of 10 people who would have died are now protected. And this is the kind of reduction is seen across a wide range of diseases. The numbers are consistent and they are clear. And what happens when vaccination rates fall? Germany provides a sobering example. The chart on the screen shows measles cases over time. In years with lower vaccination rates, the outbreaks followed. The correlation is direct and consistent. And one key driver is not all children are fully vaccinated. In the birth cohort of 2014, only about 74% had received a second measles dose, well below the threshold needed for herd immunity. And the consequences were measurable and predictable. Vaccination rates also vary significantly by region, even within a single country. Take the pneumococcal vaccine as an example. In the Düsseldorf and Cologne area, the coverage is around 15%. In Magdeburg, on the other hand, it's 34%, more than double. These differences have real consequences for local outbreak risk, and they remind us that coverage is never just a national average, it is a local responsibility too. So, to bring it all together, vaccines work. They are safe, and the evidence for their impact is overwhelming. They protect you, they protect the people around you who can't protect themselves, and at the population level, they are one of the most effective public health tools ever developed. If you want to learn more, we've put together a website with additional resources. The link is on the screen. We'd also be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much for watching.